Sure. Thanks for having me, Bob. And thanks for spending all those years at Walter Reed looking after us young guys and
20.
using your experience. 20 years. You were there every day. I remember you were there every single day that I was in there. So, and you were probably there for longer than I was every day. Um, yeah, as Bob said, I was wounded in Afghanistan in 2010. Lost both legs above the knee to an IED. And after I recovered at Walter Reed for a year and a half, um, I retired and had to go on this journey of trying to rediscover how I was going to make my impact in the world. Post Marine Corps, I had that path through the Marine Corps and through deploying and fighting overseas alongside my fellow Marines. And so I was kind of like a lot of veterans, like every veteran that separates at some point. I had to rediscover what I was going to do with the rest of my life that was going to bring me as much meaning as being in the Marine Corps was going to. And I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. So the first thing that I tried was sports. So I'd always been interested in being in the life of a full-time, an Olympic athlete, basically somebody that dedicates themselves to one task, really one race every 4 years. And that type of dedication was what attracted me to the Marine Corps and what attracted me to sports. So I started training for the Paralympics in early 2012, and along with my partner, we won a bronze medal in the Paralympics in London in double sculls rowing. And but I kind of quickly realized during my rowing career that it wasn't really going to be the activity that had the meaning for me. It kind of was more about just winning that race every year, and it didn't have a whole lot of greater purpose for me. So I kind of realized quickly that it wasn't going to be something that I wanted to do long term. And so I kind of took that athlete mindset and I applied it to something more philanthropic. Um, and I came up with this idea to ride my bike across the country. I was going to ride it from Maine to Camp Pendleton, and I did that in 2013 and 2014. We raised about $125,000 for various wounded veteran charities that I hadn't come across in my time of recovery. But when I got to the end of that ride, I still didn't feel quite uh, like it was completely satisfying. And the reason for that was that the main purpose behind that bike ride was to push myself, to see what I could do, to see what I was capable of doing. And so the underlying purpose was still mostly about myself. Uh, and that kind of more selfish purpose is what didn't sit right with me. So in 2017, I had the idea to run 31 marathons in 31 days in 31 different cities. And the thing that was going to be different about this challenge was that the underlying purpose for it was going to be to create a story about a veteran that was wounded overseas and came back and thrived from it and became stronger from my injury. And I was going to create that story in order to help other people, in order to help other veterans and help anybody. And that's what was different about it. And so I did the 31 marathon challenge in November or October, started October 12th of 2017 and finished on Veterans Day in 2017, running around the war memorials in the National Mall. And that's kind of where I realized that what I needed to do with my life was to make it about other people, just like I had in the Marine Corps, and then also challenge myself on a day-to-day basis. And now where my entrepreneurial spirit came in later was I'm not going to be running a month of marathons every year, and so I had to figure out a way to keep contributing in a different way, a more sustainable way. And so that's when I started doing, speaking engagements and motivational speaking and working on a memoir and things like that. So I could keep getting that story out there and help as many people as possible in a way that I was going to be able to sustain. And so I moved to back to Virginia, back home where I grew up. And during that time period, Tunnel to Towers offered to build me a home. and which I had always resisted until after the month of marathons when I was married to Pam. And she told me that with her life, after she was an athlete, she wanted to be a farmer, because she had just gotten really into, as an athlete, you have to eat, the best, highest quality foods. As I'm sure Maurice was talking about with his story, you have to eat the highest quality food. You have to eat it. It has to be, organic and, grown sustainably and all these kinds of things in order to be your best. And so that kind of having to do that for her sport, for rowing, kind of got her interested in being part of that production process. And so what we did was Tunnel to Towers offered to build us the house, and we selected 13 acres in Middleburg, Northern Virginia. And while they were building the house, we came out here and we started getting things set up for her to run the business. And that involved building this 8-foot tall deer fence. So we had to, I think in February of 2019, we had to go around in the snow and pounding posts in the ground and laying all this wire and spinning it around the fence. And it took us like 3 weeks to build this fence, about 2,000 feet of fence, 8 feet tall. And from there, she got a business partner, and they started just, building their farm business. They do vegetables, and they do chicken eggs. And just this past year, Pam started doing meat. So she did meat chickens. She sold 25 turkeys and 8 sheep. And that kind of brings us to where we are now.
Rob,
and I'm more kind of just like her helper, with manual labor when she needs help. She does
Rob,
all the.
You have an amazing habit of understating everything you do by about 99%.
Thanks, Bob.
You became a motivational speaker, and I know you spoke to a group of Turner executives in New York.
Yeah.
Could you just tell them briefly what you talked to them about and highlight that? Turner, where I'm retired from, is the biggest construction company in the country, one of the biggest worldwide. And Amanda's husband works for Turner for about 110 years, Tom Patchy. But Rob, could you just tell them what you kind of talked to them about and how the reaction was from the audience?
Yeah. So what I usually do is I'll tell the story I just told you, except in a lot more detail and with conversations that I had that made an impact on my trajectory. For example, early on in my stay in now Walter Reed, but used to be Bethesda Hospital. I was in the hospital bed, and these amputees came in from Walter Reed doing a peer visit. And at that point in my life, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the future was going to be like for me, what I was going to be able to do. And then these guys came in, and they sat down with me for a while, and they kind of told me about their lives and what they'd been doing over at Walter Reed. And that kind of illuminated to me that, hey, I was going to be able to walk again. I wasn't going to have to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life like I thought. My mom wasn't going to have to be my caretaker for the rest of my life like I assumed. And I was going to be able to move on and do something else meaningful. And so there's just conversations and moments throughout my story that I illuminate. So I go into a little bit more detail and make it a little bit more interesting and funny than what I just did. It usually it can take anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, a half hour, whatever they want. But then I kind of hit on at the end a few of the bigger lessons that I learned along the way. And the first one is about how the key for me, and I think for everybody, to overcome anything, any challenge in life, and to actually accomplish any goal that you have in life is to have that selfless purpose, kind of like I did on the monthly marathons. So figure out the reason or the person or the place or the thing that is relying upon you to be successful in order for them to benefit. So they're relying on you. Like my fellow veterans were relying on me to finish the month of marathons so that they would have a story that they could latch on to. Or in the hospital, my mom was kind of relying on me to be okay with my injury. And that was directly affecting her. That was directly affecting her mindset too. And so just figuring out what that selfless reason is that requires you to be successful. And that's what gets you out of bed in the morning. And that's what makes you not quit when everything in your body and even in your mind is telling you to quit. It's having that person that is relying upon you. Say when you're starting that business, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows the whole time. There's going to be some difficult times where maybe you're almost out of money, or you might not make payroll, or there's certain challenges that are going to come up, and you might just think about quitting or giving up on it. And so in those moments, you can think about, well, my family's relying on me to make this business successful, or the veteran community is relying on me to be a good example of what a veteran can do after they separate. So yeah, I think those two things, that what we were just talking about, go hand in hand. I think every year sort of has an increase in an improvement in some way as the objective. So when she started, it was I think maybe 3/4 of an acre sized garden, and there were maybe 20 chickens, and it was just her and her business partner, and they were, I don't think they broke even. I think they just about broke even on expenses and revenue. And so the next year they just wanted to, make money that year, and they expanded the garden a little bit, and they bought more chickens. And instead of just doing farmers markets, they did a vegetable subscription called a CSA, a community supported agriculture. So yeah, I think it's one of those kind of natural transition where it gives, veterans, I think, are attracted to, working hard with their hands a lot of the times. And a lot of us kind of enjoy solitude, I think. And so farming is definitely solitude. It definitely gets you up early, and you have to work hard all day, every day at it. And it's also sort of a way to give back. You're producing food for your community, and you're tending the earth and things like that. I think when you see war, you have a tendency to enjoy more peaceful occupations like that. So I think it's a natural fit for veterans. And there's a lot of different programs that help veterans get into the farming business.